Am I live? Hello, welcome. Are you there? Welcome to my world. Come on in. I'm just busy trying to find you. Eventually, I hope to get these live streams to go sooner in the day. I don't know when, but I hope to soon. I just know that our place is very busy during the day, and I would hate to have the phones ringing and so forth. And I don't have my studio yet, it's on my forklift list. But today is Sunday, and it is one of my favorite days because that is when I can bring my problems to the table. And I do have some ideas for a solution. But my name is Colleen Liz Frost, and I am in development. Actually, I don't know if I'm ever going to come out of development. It seems like I've been in development all my life. And I don't know about you, but in our family, if we did not bring a problem to the table, well, we just were not busy that week. So Sundays were always a fun day because if we, um, dinners would last a little bit longer until we spoke up and discussed one of our problems. So I hope you are enjoying the Sundays. And if you are, I appreciate the likes because it just kind of puts a whistle in my step. And so today I want to welcome you to my tent theory. As time goes by, I'm slowly going to be unveiling this 12-year business plan I've been working on because you see, the first time that I started a business, it was under a little bit of pressure. I had a cancer diagnosis with 1 year to live. So I really didn't have a business plan. I just threw the stuff at the window and whatever stuck, that was the plan. So this time around with my parents, mostly my mother, I had asked her to help me with the business plan. And it was the joy of my life. But I want to start with one of my favorite quotes. Life is a ticket to the greatest show on earth by Martin H. Fisher. And as we go along, I'm going to kind of describe a little bit about his circus, the circus, one of my favorite memories, I guess. Today they're not as popular, I suppose, because of the different things that have happened in our world. But in my mind, they were good memories. So today I'm going to talk about the bongo board. That is a term used in the circus. It's the same as a rolla bola boss canvas man. It was the man in charge of making sure the canvas goes up properly and doesn't come down short of a major blowdown. He also decides on the placement of the tents on the lot and sometimes functions as a lot manager for the sideshows as well. The tent master is a more common modern term. So today, what I've been working on is setting up my tent. It's a very, very important job when you are building a business plan. In my high school years, we had business courses and so forth. But what was interesting to me was talking about my mother's history. And her and my Uncle Bobby had a business course, and they were taught the Omar's tent theory of management. It was so well received in my mother's young age and my Uncle Bobby's young age that even he wrote a small, tiny book about it. And I hope to track that down and share it with you. But my mother, over time, I was about 8 years old when she introduced me to my first view of graph paper. She was also my first real big dreamer in my life, my rock. Her business planning was amazing. Now, for those of you who have not really glanced at graph paper or seen the beauty of graph paper, just kind of imagine, well, let's go with a pigeon loft. Some of you would refer to them as a coop, a chicken coop, if you will. When planning on graph paper, you can start out with your dream building on how your place will look. So for her, when she introduced me while laying in bed with her at night about her dream restaurant, it was a gingerbread house. And it was her one of her many restaurants that her and dad designed. And in her mind, it looked like a little chicken coop. And this is what she built, her and Dad in Hibbing, Minnesota. And she designed it 30 years prior to actually building it on graph paper. And so this is what it looked like on paper. And over the years, Mother has collected many gingerbread houses. But I'll never forget that graph paper with that first gingerbread house. And I'll never forget the fun and joy that we had in planning it. She said, honey girl, when you plan your next business, this big dream of yours with your book and the plays and your children's book, she says, just plan it exactly like my gingerbread house and use that Omar's 10th theory of management. So I will tell you that today I was working on my 10th theory of management, and I am planning my sampler menu. And when I was planning it, I had a little problem. I was working on my search bar, and I have to tell you that I was diving deep into the hole of my pigeonhole when I got to this section. And do you know that by the end of it, as I was throwing all the different ideas for a solution on the table, that I landed right smack dab into coding and programming. And by the end of the day, the solution sprung out, and I grabbed one and I said, I guess I don't have to throw the sock on the table today, because by the end of the day, to take out that table and throw your problem on it and try to find a solution. And so I'm hoping that by the end of next week, I will be able to figure out how to be a programmer and a coder. And I think I have found the solution. So today, I just want to celebrate how exciting it is to be able to plan my circus. And slowly over time, I will be able to unveil some of these exciting things I'm working on. I don't know about any of you if you have failed, but sometimes it's okay to fail, especially when you learn the things I've learned from failing. And in my book, If You Only Had 1 Year, it's a mother's mission to the National Register of Historic Places while in remission. And that big chunk of failure that I went through was such an experience. And I hope to inspire others that sometimes that failure that happened to me has led me to where I am today. And I think I am planning something that will last a lifetime. And I'm praying and am hopeful that it will be a success. One of the things that I have learned from my mother is what happened when her and I were able to work together. And I want to end with one of her biggest successes. We worked for a company called Automotive Finance Corporation. We ran a great big bank right there in New York Mills for Uncle Bobby. And I was buried deep. I was all by myself, and Mother had helped me set it up a little bit like this Omar. And I had to hire somebody. So I carved out my poles and I figured out a job description, and then I picked my mother. And they could not figure out how in the world our little branch, out of 357 branches nationwide, could have the statistics that it did. It got the attention of the president in Indianapolis. And when his top person, the vice president of the company, ended up flying to Little New York Mills, and his name was Brian Geithner. And he flew out and hand delivered my mother a check for $5,000. And this was after extensive interviewing her over the Omar 10th theory of management. She told him during these interviews, she said, now, Brian, why would I give up my drawer of the job description things that you want me to give up? She said, those are the things I will never give up. And he just chuckled. He says, well, we've never run this bank this way. And she said, well, that's how I run our restaurant. She said, we never gave up the things that we felt were important to our bottom line. Well, to make a long story short, that big old bank that was owned by Minnesota Power they ended up changing their job descriptions throughout the whole country based upon my mother's, Omar's, tent theory of management. And every year that mother worked for that corporation, Mr. John Fuller himself ended up flying one of those $5,000 checks to hand deliver to my mother. And she was in her late 60s at the time of that career. So I'm glad that I had my mother. She passed away this past 10 months ago. And those 4 years that I spent intimately with her, helping her through her gift of being told she only had 1 year, were some of my best. But I had spent over 30 years working with her and Dad in the restaurant business, and it happens to be the one business I did know a lot about. So it just makes perfect sense that I would set up my digital home and this next venture exactly like a restaurant. So it is with that my menus and my table tents that I'm lining up, I'll just show you one of them. This is my table tents, and I will show you some menus and things tomorrow. But in the meantime, for my hand therapy, I am learning how to juggle. I used to know this years ago. So the circus is going to be running, and my little pigeonholes will be filled with all the little templates for job descriptions as my business grows. And when the circus is over and we have to move from town to town, I will have my little airplane or my bike or whatever transportation mode we will run, and I will load up the circus, pack our circus tent, and we will take off. So with that, my new ending is thank you for liking my videos, share them with those who dare to dream, and be avant-garde, be rare. So thank you, and sincerely remember me. Colleen, your tent master for Sunday's Ding the Bell Day. And might I add, Mrs. Frzanki, my sister, bought me one last bell. And it is a cowbell, a dinner bell. I'm having the time of my life.